Welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel once a week. It chooses the horror movie and they discuss it. Today we're talking about 1981's An American Werewolf in London, which was directed by John Landis. I'm your co-host, Alec.
I'm Erik, and with us again is Joey Talluto. Joey, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, guys. How we doing?
Joey's back!
What's the last movie we did with you, Joey?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original.
Right. Oh, that was good.
Yeah.
That was so long ago. Joe, you were in the original 30 episodes. You're one of our first guests ever.
Yeah, dude. Well, I'm flattered.
That was a good episode.
Yeah, that and a great freaking movie. Dude, that was 2 years ago. That 2 years went by so fast.
Yeah, man. October 2020. It's good times.
Wild.
But you're back now to discuss an equally amazing movie to Texas Chainsaw Massacre for different reasons, An American Werewolf in London. And as far as I know, it's the first time either of you have ever seen this movie. Is that right?
Correct.
That's right. Yes.
Wow. Well, why don't we start off then with your guys' favorite parts? Joey, do you have a favorite part of this movie overall?
Man, my favorite part, my favorite scene has to be the beginning. You have the two main characters and they're walking around. It's London, right? It's not Ireland. It's London, right? Like one of the outskirts of England, right?
It starts off, yeah, in like northern England, like in the random parts of England, and then ends in London.
Yeah, man. And the way that they paint that picture and that like that heavy kind of like fog and they're walking around and they don't have a care in the world, kind of like these American tourists, and you just got the feeling like just doom is kind of like gonna swallow them any second. And the way that the director John Landis he wrote it as well. The way that he paints the scene and kind of how the suspense kind of builds, and like the audience is on the edge of their seat. And then when it builds up to that reveal of the werewolf, and also like the camera movements and the way that they surround the characters right before that big reveal, yeah, I thought that was such a nice like song and dance of that big horror moment when that big reveal comes. I thought it was awesome directing. That whole sequence, yeah, we'll call it sequence, that was awesome. That was my favorite scene.
Yeah, no, there's so much good stuff about this movie.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to talk to both of you about it, just because neither of you have ever seen it. But Erik, what about you? You love werewolf movies, dude. So this must have been right up your alley, huh?
Oh yeah, dude, I love this movie. My favorite part is probably the sex scene. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my
That's
god.
what, wanted to be as immature as possible. I honestly loved when the best friend came back, and every time he came back, he was just more and more decayed. I thought that was really cool. I
Oh,
thought
yeah.
the make like when he first showed up in his neck, I was like looking at it. I was like really staring at the makeup, and I was so impressed by that. I know we're gonna get into all the special effects in a bit. That was probably my favorite part, was just seeing the decay progress and how crazy it's like. It's only been like another day, like.
Yeah.
To that point, Erik, it does lend more than just like it's just a werewolf curse. It's like, nah, he's kind of like possessed in a way. Like he's seeing dead people, he's interacting with his victims. Like it's more than just, I don't know, turning into a
Yeah.
beast, feels like.
It's a curse for sure. Two other things I want to just point out before we really dive into this. I don't know if I was subconsciously thinking this, but I thought the main character, I was like, this kind of reminds me of you, Joey. Like, Alec, did you get that at all?
Oh yeah, for sure, with the hair.
Guys, let me tell you something.
Here we go.
David Naughton is like a hero in my family.
Really?
Like my fam loves him because he was a part of that one-hit wonder. He sang that disco song, "Making It." Have you guys heard that song?
I'm sure. Sing it.
Dude, it's the most epitome disco song ever. It's like, I'm solid gold. I got the looks. They stare when I walk through the neighborhood. I'm making it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I didn't do my vocal warm up, so that's only I have a beautiful voice. Actually, just to let you know.
It's a mix of Fergie and Jesus.
Dude, I realized that 80% into the film that it's freaking David Naughton, and I was like, oh, I didn't know he had a movie career, but he's also from your home state of Connecticut.
I was gonna say, Alex.
Oh, I was like, Erik, get your list out.
Let me do my line. The pride of Connecticut.
The pride of Connecticut, David Naughton.
West Hartford, Connecticut. That's stomping grounds, Alec.
Yeah, that is like our neighboring town, Joey.
Man, no kidding. I did not know that.
Yeah.
But if you guys, and if the audience, if whoever's listening here, if you want a good laugh, David Naughton live performance of Making It. He's hysterical. He's bouncing around, just get all the ladies just melting in the eye. It's hilarious.
Oh my god.
But yeah, David Naughton, man, what a throwback.
Yeah, I thought the same thing though, Eric. Right when I saw them in the beginning walking, I'm like, he does kind of remind me of Joey. He really does. Just
Yeah, I
like,
didn't wanna say it just to say it. I'm like, "Oh, it's because 'cause we're recording with Joey," but I'm like, "No, honestly, like, he kind of reminded me of you, Joey." I don't know what it was.
yeah.
He's got kind of a dumb face, and he's just kind of like he's strutting down. He's just strutting down the road.
Yeah, just a dumb, dopey West Hartford face. Yeah,
He's
exactly.
like he's like, hey, everything's gonna be fine, you guys. There's
Yeah.
this pentangle that's all these devil worshippers just cursing us, but everything's gonna be fine, you guys. We're making it. It's like, dude, you're about to be slaughtered by a werewolf.
Well, I gotta say, this movie's kind of special too in another weird way because I lived in London or studied abroad there for a while, and both of you individually came out and visited me in London. So all of us have been to London, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yes, man.
No, I remember running into you, Joey, for the first time in, like, Amsterdam or London, and you just were like, "I don't feel good." You were so sick in our trip. Do you remember that? How sick you were at one point?
Dude, I had a fever of 120. I should have been in the ER.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm just being led around by just nut jobs. And they're like, we're going to eat mushrooms now. And I'm like, you guys, I can't breathe.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was actually hilarious. Right when we got to Amsterdam, Joey, you just walked up, you're like, I'm real sick, Al.
You're like, "I don't feel good. I don't feel good."
I was like, oh shit. And then you
No, I think the first thing I said when I walked up to you, I hadn't seen you in months. And you're like, Joey, I miss you, man. And I was just like, can you help me find an ATM? I'm
Yeah.
like, you're like, oh, hi. I'm like, I need money for the doctor, dude.
Dude, you were completely like in a fever dream. You were like not there. You were
Like,
kind of like possessed by a werewolf, you know? You were just out of it.
you guys like, all right, let's go get some pot. And I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna make it.
You were like, yeah, you're fine. Come on. Oh man, that was good times. But anyways, back to this movie a little bit. I gotta say, my favorite part of the entire movie, obviously special effects, but the thing that really stood out to me was how little they showed and how much your imagination had to fill in. And that's what I think really stands the time between this movie and almost like anything that's come out in the past 20 years. You remember this movie for the special effects, but you don't see much. You just don't see a lot. It's very quick cuts, very loud, like, and then all of a sudden it just cuts, and that's so much more effective to me. Just like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, your imagination's going to make it scarier. It's going to fill in those blanks. And this is a perfect example of that for horror films.
Absolutely, Al. And to speak off that point too, man, you could tell kind of like the director's learning his lesson. Like it's very Hitchcockian, kind of like building that suspense. And even in this movie too, which I think it really hits home more so than any other really horror movie I've seen. Like the comedic and the writing and the snippy dialogue that goes with it. I don't know. I thought that they really nailed it with that too, with the juxtaposition with the horror. And dude, I also left the note too. They were talking about like suicide a lot too in the dialogue. Remember, I thought that was pretty jarring. How he kept saying to David Naughton's character, he's like, "You got to kill yourself. You just got to kill yourself." And I just remember just like, I don't think I've heard dialogue like that in a movie before. I thought that was pretty jarring.
Not to make light of suicide, but his plan for it was not good. He, like, he had, like, a pocket like, a rusty pocket knife.
And like a phone booth.
Yeah, where someone's gonna go to use the phone and be like, "Oh, we gotta call an ambulance."
Yeah.
Like, that's I mean, not to make light of it. It
But
didn't make any sense. I don't know. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yeah.
But, real quick, I also wanted to point out, you know what else is going on in the news today is the Queen's, I think, 70th
Oh, yeah.
Platinum Jubilee, they call it. It's kinda
Yeah.
good timing, for American Werewolf in London to come out. Not planned at all, so that's kinda cool.
Yeah, a lot of British stuff going on now. But Joey, back to
Yeah.
your point about the comedy, dude, this movie is hilarious. Like, I saw this movie when I was a kid. My dad showed it to me when I was like 10. And like looking back, I'm like, whoa, this is pretty intense. But I never paid attention to the comedy. I just remembered all the horror elements because I was a kid. Dude, this movie had me laughing so hard, especially in that scene where they're in the doctor's office and the police officers are there. And they keep getting interrupted by the calls, and the doctor just goes, "I don't know, tell him I'm bloody dead, stop calling," and hangs up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was and then the guy immediately backs up and knocks all those things over. I was like, "This is British comedy, like, at its finest right now."
I like
Yeah.
the balloon kid. scene too. I thought that was funny.
Oh my god, he's like, "I just had my balloon stolen by a naked American man." Mom's like, "What?" Like, it was
Yeah. Yeah.
really fucking funny movie though, and it shows John Landis as such a comedic director because he did The Blues Brothers the year before and then Animal
Yes.
House 2 years before that. So it's like, what a good movie. I could see this coming out now and having, like, Seth Rogen and Jason Segel or something like that, and it just being, like, maybe too funny. This movie really did, as you said, the juxtaposition was very well balanced, Joe, but I could see them remaking this now and it being much more of a full-blown comedy.
Definitely.
Right.
Also, dude, the pacing of this movie is perfect. It's like probably one like if you want to pick out a movie, like, yeah, what do you want to watch? It's like this movie would be perfect because it's an hour and a half pretty much, and it just right off the bat, backpacking, getting bit, to hospital, to sex scene, to turn into a werewolf, to it's just like it does it all perfectly, and then the finale. So it's really a good flowing movie.
It ends pretty abruptly.
It does. Yeah,
It
it does.
does, but it's a cool ending though. It is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I didn't have a problem with it at all.
Nah, dude, but the beginning, that pub scene is amazing too. It just feels so authentically British.
Very, very British. Very British, yeah.
Very British.
They're all like 23 too. They're not a day older than 23. Everyone in that pub.
Yeah. Well, I do think. I mean, that was the point of it, right? Because they were American tourists going into this like extremely British scene that was kind of on the outskirts. And one of the actors, his name is David Shofield, and he's been in tons of stuff. If you see his face, you would know. You would. He's one of those actors you would know who he is.
David Shofield. Yeah, I just want to look. Oh yeah, dude, he was the creepy guy who like ran out in the back and was just like,
Yeah.
There's a werewolf." Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was in Pirates of the Caribbean, wasn't he?
Yes. Yes. Exactly. He's been in Gladiator, Valkyrie with Tom Cruise. He's a humongous career. Quite young in this. I mean, this was 19. Man, this was 1981, right?
Yeah.
So, pardon my bad math, but 91. Yeah, I mean, talking over 30 years ago, man.
41 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, man. This movie, totally loved it, and you have to talk about also the makeup and the special effects, right?
Yeah, let's get into that. I know nothing about this.
What did you guys think of the makeup, the special effects, the costume? I mean, if any normal person, not extreme, movie nerds like us, but any normal person would watch it. Like my girlfriend walked in when I was watching it, and I mean, she watches, just like reality TV and whatever, all that shit. But she was watching it and she kind of chuckled and was like, oh, like she thought it was funny, but she was still engaged in it. And yeah, it's campy, but I think it's done very intellectually, and I think it's done obviously brilliant. I mean, we'll probably mention the transformation scene, but also the end scene too, where kind of like all of the people who had been killed kind of join in together in that movie theater scene. I thought that was a funny kind of unique scene and like a chance for makeup and special effects to kind of show off what they done. And I don't know, I was a big fan of all of it, but I don't know. What'd you guys think?
I'm glad you mentioned the zombies too, because everybody always thinks about the werewolf when they think about this movie, but no, the zombies, they get a lot of credit too. They should. But yeah, Eric, I'm sure Rick Baker's the guy that did all the special
Oh
effects and
yeah.
makeup for this, and I mean, he's done everything, but he did Star Wars, which is, a couple years before this.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that which, Star Wars, looking back, you're like, well, it's a lot of masks and stuff. But anyways, I love Star Wars. Shut up, Alec. This movie though, really, holy shit, takes it into a whole new level. It's like 1981. This is the standard now. And then, we get The Thing, and he did Videodrome too, Eric, in 83. So he followed up with that.
Oh dude, I love Videodrome.
Oh yeah, Joey?
This was the same guy.
Yeah, same special effects. So like when the TV's coming out and like all the, freaky shit with his stomach and Videodrome, that's all him.
Man, I was thinking, how cool would it have been if you were studying cinema and movie and filmmaking in visual effects, makeup, costume during this era? I mean, it's all kind of like physical, kind of like making, crafting all of this shit. I watched a small little documentary of this film, American Werewolf in London, and what they were doing with with the actors, particularly David Naughton, how they were kind of crafting his body with all of this liquid stuff. Did you see that, the making of the special effects bit?
No, I didn't get a chance to.
It was just how they crafted all of it was just, it's unbelievable. And then I don't even know how that they did the transformation scene and how it kind of morphed into the werewolf.
I was gonna say, Yeah, Rick Baker, dude. All of this still holds up today, and I kept asking myself, how did they do that? As I was watching the transformation scene, which is an hour, and I'm just so impressed. I was so impressed by that scene. I'm like, how the hell did they? Was it stop motion? I don't even know how they did that, Alec.
I think it's probably a lot of latex that's on his skin, and it was, like, bubbling, I think?
There's a
Yes.
lot of stretching and elongating, but it wasn't anything. I was like, how would you do that? Would you stretch it an inch, stop the frame, stretch it? You know, it has to, I don't know. I was trying to figure it out. Or was there like a machine?
Yeah, was it mechanical?
I'm just imagining Joe Testa listening right now just being like,
Yeah. Oh, he's probably so mad at us.
"Guys, you idiots, it's a silicone pump, and it's a thing with a thing," and it's just like, he knows exactly what it is.
I started with saying I know nothing about the special effects, but I do know, and I hate to bring him up because he's another podcaster and the biggest one, Joe Rogan. I think he has like a gigantic werewolf from this movie in his studio.
Oh, that's cool.
You ever see a picture of that? It's like his like the main thing he has in his studio.
And Rick Baker was on his podcast maybe a year ago, and he talks about it.
I should listen to that one.
Yeah, yeah.
That's so cool.
I want side note just on that transformation scene. I think David Naughton's performance is really good.
Oh my god, yeah, it's like he comes out of nowhere when he gets possessed, he's just, like, reading a book.
Well, that's why the director is so good, where they did a zoom on the moon and he's just sitting there reading, and then it's like really kind of jarring how he just gets an immediate headache, and it just kind of builds from that. And
Mm.
like the different variations on his vocal range too. I mean,
It's kind of funny if you think about it. Like he's been completely, went through a traumatic experience. His friend died, and his friend keeps telling him like, "Hey, in the next full moon, you're gonna change." And he's like, "I'm gonna read a book." And then like he gets hit like a ton of bricks, and it's like, what?
yeah.
It's
"I'm
funny.
so hot," and he's, like, taking his clothes off and everything. Yeah, it's
It's like it would be funny if he was like, I didn't listen. I didn't listen. Like,
well, I wanted to ask you, Eric, what if you and I got in that exact same situation where I got murdered and you were just hanging out, reading a book, whatever, and I kept coming back to you? Would you take me seriously, or would you be like, "Alright, just fuck off, Alec"? Today's episode of Wheel of Horror is brought to you by Bard's Clothing. Remember that one time you bought a Cool Cat shirt, and now you get bombarded with calls and ads for Cool Cat shirts? At Bard's Clothing, the focus is on you and your story. A custom clothing company producing casual knits, button-down shirts, suits, and much more. All of Bard's clothing garments are created right here in America, so you don't have to worry about slave labor or killing the environment. Buying with intention to tell your story has never been easier. Go to bardsclothing.com to book an appointment, and be sure to follow them at Bards Clothing on Instagram.
I think I'd take you very seriously. He's like, all right, dude. Like, what do you want? He's like, you gotta kill yourself. I was like, oh man, that's a tall order, dude. Do you see this nurse I just snagged like 10 minutes ago? It's like, I don't know. I'm doing pretty well, man.
Yeah,
Speaking of that, the
Yeah.
nurse, I mean, like, is it that easy? Like, you become a patient, and then I don't know. That whole story was like, wow, that was really easy for him.
yeah, seriously.
Yeah. Well, I left a note for myself. The camera opens up on the nurse, and I'm like, oh, the nurse is just like really extremely attractive. I'm like, yeah, it's just like so random.
Yeah, and like within a week, she's like, "You want come live with me?" Like, what? Like that was really quick.
Joey, I'm just imagining you with a notebook and you're just watching this movie, you're like, "Nurse is attractive," and, like, you just keep watching.
Well, I wrote down, why is the nurse attractive? Like really attractive? Question mark. Like, but dude, also like the great thing about this movie, what made me think of this when watching the transformation scene too, is that you're watching a movie, and it's just a small commentary on nowadays where a lot of movies are just total CGI.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that has its benefits too, but it's cool that a movie like this is not all CGI, and it's just kind of like props to the filmmakers who really innovative and creative in their own right. You know what I mean?
Well, the scene that probably shows that off the best is when they're in the subway scene, because you see almost nothing, and you mentioned earlier, Joey's kinda like a Hitchcock movie, and I think that's another example of that, where it's like, you hear the howling coming from the tube, then the guy's, like, running, and the camera turns into a POV, and we never even see the werewolf ever until the end, and you just see it creep out a little bit at the bottom of the stairs, and it kills the guy, and that scene is so scary, and we see almost nothing, and
Yeah.
that's, no CGI, innovative camera work, and just, like, yeah, that's a perfect example of the Hitchcock in this movie.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. Big fan of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't really pick that up, so I'm glad you pointed that out. I was watching, I didn't really think like, "Oh, man, you don't really see the werewolf." You do, but you don't see it kill too
Dude.
much. I mean, like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, fully, like, a wide shot. It's all, like, quick shots and everything.
And that makes it so much better. Your
Yeah.
brain fills it in. We don't need to see, some intense gore. We don't need to see a fake CGI that we're like watching, like, all right, might as well just play a video game if I'm watching this.
The head bouncing on the car was great. Was
Oh.
great.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. Yeah, but I mean, dude, it's a funny movie. It's a really good showcase of special effects. It's a great movie, and I feel like it almost doesn't get as much credit as it deserves. It's hard because it's not a straight horror movie, and it's not funny enough to be considered a comedy, but, like, it's got a nice blend.
Blend. I
Yeah.
like that word. It's a blend for sure.
But, yeah, my dad showed it to me when I was a kid, and it's funny, I saw the post or the sign of the slaughtered lamb, and I took a picture of it, and I immediately sent it to my dad, and I was just like, "Didn't you have a shirt of this when I was a kid?" And he's like, "I think I do, actually. I think I have one
That's
in the
so
basement
cool.
somewhere," and I'm like, because he loved this movie when he was a kid, so I thought that was, I'm pretty sure my dad has a slaughtered lamb shirt somewhere, so I gotta go see if I can find that.
That's what they say, that combination of comedy and horror really works well together. I don't know. I guess it's just that kind of raw, natural feeling of of human beings where it's like, oh shit, like you're really like horrified, you're really scared, and then that's such a raw feeling for a human being. And then also when you laugh, you belly laugh. It's like that feeling as well is really raw. So it's like those two feelings go well together. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts about that? Because that clearly they nailed that in this movie.
That's a really good point, Joe, actually. If it's like when you go to scare your friend or something like that, like you jump out from like a, side of a building or something, you jump out and scare them. It's like their heart immediately is like, "Oh my god." And then they laugh because they're like, "Oh, I'm not really scared."
Yeah,
And that's kind of
yeah,
what horror comedy does. You're right. It's like an elongated version of that. It's like you're walking on eggshells because you're like, I don't know what's gonna happen, but then there's comedy mixed in that kind of brings you back
yeah,
down.
dude.
Yeah.
A great example of that, dude. I'm not sure if you guys are fans of Jackass at all, like back in the day, or
Yeah.
like the movies or like the show.
Hell yeah.
So Jackass, man, like these guys are like putting together these orchestrated stunts, and you know, when they get hurt, the other guys watching are like, oh shit, they're really genuinely concerned that the guy got hurt, but but they're also laughing hysterically. So it's
Oh
like
yeah.
that's a great example of those two kind of raw reactions, you know. Not to go on a tangent, but I think like American Werewolf in London, there's a lot of comedy in it. A lot of the writing, the dialogue, which comes through. Like I said, it nails it. And then the horror is done so beautifully, how they kind of build that suspense, kind of like what we talked about. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I'm a big fan. I love this movie.
Yeah, and like you said, Joey, before, like you can see this today with like Seth Rogen or something. And I honestly was picturing it's a bromance movie in some ways. It's definitely like a bro movie. Like I was picturing like super bad, like Jonah Hill and Michael Cera like backpacking through Europe and London, and the same thing happened to them. And he's like, "What the fuck? I don't know what to do." Like, and he's like, "Dude, you need to kill
Yeah,
yourself." Like I could
yeah,
see like
exactly.
it happening in that way, and that was probably the funniness of being like two dudes backpacking through Europe. It's a good comedy for sure.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you too, Eric. Joe, you don't have any pets, right, Joe?
No.
Okay. I was watching this movie with my roommate's cat. It just always lives on my lap for some reason. I don't know. But we're watching this movie and there's a scene where the cat like freaks out at David and like, hisses at him. She didn't react to that at all. She was freaking out whenever the howling would happen though. And I can only imagine if a cat's reacting that way, Eric, how Miley was reacting.
Oh, I texted you. I
Yeah.
texted you a bunch. I have a
Oh
video of
wow.
it, of the reaction. She was invested in this movie at the ending, and I took a video of the ending when she says like "I love you" to the werewolf at the end, and then it leaps. Miley was like, "Oh my god, what's gonna happen?" But she was jumping at the TV. I had to pull her away at one point because I thought she was gonna break the
Oh
TV.
wow.
Yeah, but I'll send it to you guys. It's hilarious.
No pets, guys. Growing up, we said, "Can we get a dog?" We said, "Your cousin's got a dog. Go play with that one."
It's like our cousins live in Wisconsin. It's like, we'll get a plane ticket, go visit them.
You're big enough. You can fly.
Why don't you take the trash out and go play with the raccoons? Take the trash
Yeah,
out.
I'll make you fly. I'll throw you out the window, see if you can fly. No, I'm
Oh
just
my
kidding.
god. But yeah, dude, I think it was like I wanna know how they made that howling sound effect because, like, I feel like it has some primal impact on animals because they were my cat even, I was
Yeah.
like, I've never seen her react to anything, like,
Oh
ever,
wow.
And it was just like she'd hear the like, and she just like looked at the screen, her ears perked up and stuff.
I love that howl too. I love it. Like I can picture it in my mind right now. It's so good.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Especially the scene where they're walking through the fog, the two like when they first get attacked, like that was really kind of scary. I mean, I'm trying to
Right.
imagine Eric, us when we used to go on the golf course and stuff at night, you know, remember when we were younger and we'd like
Oh
walk
yeah.
around? Dude, like that, yeah, obviously this couldn't happen, but if we were just walking, we hear this like intense howling and it sounds like it's coming in all directions, you know, like 5.1 Dolby Digital surround sound.
Terrifying.
I find it funny that they're always like, "Stay off the moor," and these two guys are like, "I don't even know what a moor is," and they're like walking around, you know, like pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
Like I kind of picked that up. They keep like, "Make sure you stay off the moor," and they're like not paying attention to that advice at all.
Yeah. They also called them a daft at one point in the bar. DAFT. What's a daft? Alec, you would know. You spent some time in England.
It just means crazy. It just means like a
Oh,
crazy
okay.
person. Daft
What are
is
you,
like,
daft?
yeah, you're
Yeah.
wild, you're crazy. Mad is like insane. Bloody is like fuck. Basically, it's like that's a bloody blah blah blah. It's like that's a fucking blah blah blah. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. I loved British culture there, and especially love their pub culture. It's like literally like the second they clock out, they just go to some pub and they sit there and drink a bunch of beer and they just talk and laugh and stuff. And then 11 o'clock, they're all shit faced and go home. It's fun. It's a fun culture.
Big fan. Love it.
I should definitely move there. I would get along so well.
It's funny though, because the pubs close at like 11, because you're like, well, yeah, they went at like 4 p.m.
It's like as a society, we need to function, so you need to go home at 11. Like that's why they have to close the pubs. Like if
Yeah.
we were up till 2 a.m., like
Yeah.
the whole London would be a disgusting mess. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Joe, you've always had some like interest in British culture and stuff. You've always loved, I don't know, like their theater and stuff, right?
I think so. Yeah. I remember when I came to visit you in London, I was like, guys, can we go see the Shakespeare Globe? Everybody's like, no, we're not doing that. I was like, all
this
right.
isn't a field trip, Joey. We're here to get drunk.
All right, I'll just enjoy it. I'll Google it and look up some facts. But no, yeah, it's when I lived in New York and when I was taking a lot of acting classes, one of my directors who I was with for a long time, she talked a lot about Shakespeare and the British way of acting and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I was pretty interested in that regard. But I'm pretty much a fan of history and for everything.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I don't know. What would you guys give this if you're gonna rank this out of 10? What would you guys give this?
So Rotten Tomatoes gave it an 89%, and then IMDb has it collectively as a 7.5. I'm thinking, what would you give it, Eric?
I'd give it an 8.1 just off of special effects and how impressed I was by it for the time. So 8.1 deserves it.
So overall, film production, performances, production, writing, you give it an 8.1.
Yeah, yeah. Did you open your ears, Joey? Did I not say 8.1?
Eric.
I wanted to be mean. I wanted to be mean.
I'm like endowing myself as delegating right now because I'm thinking. So sorry.
If you go 8.2, I'm gonna be mad.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the 7.8. I think it's a fantastic movie. You should absolutely see it. If you like comedy or horror, go check it out. Special effects are amazing. It still holds up 41 years later. So, big fan. Don't go see American Werewolf in Paris though. It's not great.
I saw that one honestly, and I don't know how I reversed that somehow. I saw that one when I was young. I don't know.
Icky Eric. Icky
It's a
Eric.
bad movie.
Yeah, that was 1997, American Werewolf in Paris.
I think I was like 9.
I do remember seeing this poster.
Even the poster looks cheesy. It just looks it looks so cheesy.
It's bad. I remember like them like shooting the werewolves with like shots or something, like medicating. It was just so bad. And the Eiffel
Yeah.
Tower scene, they were like climbed up the Eiffel. It was so weird.
Joey, what would you give it?
I think you guys are pretty spot on. Yeah, like a 7.8, 7.9. It's as far as just cinema and filmmaking goes, you can see all the innovation in it. Like all the special effects, the performances are great. All the filmmaking that went into it. Yeah, I think it's a classic. I think it's up there. Big fan.
Hell yeah. Well, Eric, do you think it's time you spin that wheel?
Oh yeah, we only have a couple left, if not.
I think we have 2 left.
Hell yeah.
Spinning. Cujo.
Cujo. All right.
Nailed
Is that
it.
the Killer Dog movie?
Yeah, it's a Stephen King movie from the 80s about a dog that gets rabies and like traps a mom and her son in a car.
Stephen King.
Yeah, Stephen King. Yep.
Oh, dude.
So we have Dom coming back for that one if he is not a new dad, because this is the week
Oh yeah,
his daughter is supposed to be born.
this week. So I'm
Yeah.
sure he has other things other than Cujo going on.
Again, if Maggie goes into labor during the podcast, that would be incredibly crazy. But anyways, Joey, thank you so much for coming back on. I want to have you on again in the near future. I don't want it to be another 2 years, Joe. Let's get you back on.
Yeah, guys, no, I love doing this. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Joey. Good talking with you.
All right, boys.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much for listening in this week. If you haven't had a chance yet, we've been covering all the episodes of Obi-Wan. You can check those out. And we also released our episode on Top Gun on Friday. So check those out. We'll see you all next week with Cujo.
Woo!
All right, boys. Have a great weekend.
Woo!